Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, Lore and Frame, the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So I'm on like the final leg of Watership Down. I'm about ready to finish it. I'll probably finish it later tonight, but I've been kind of, this is the second time I've experienced the story. I first listened to it in audiobook form, and now I'm reading it for the first time. So I'm having a little bit of trying to figure out what I think of it as a novel. Obviously, I really like it. I like it a lot, actually. It has gone on to be one of my favorites, but I'm still trying to piece together what works about it and what doesn't. And I do think there are certain things about it that do not work. Most specifically, I find it. I feel like I felt going into the General Woundwort saga that this entire situation was kind of contrived. You have an entire forest of rabbits. They're everywhere, right? It shouldn't be that hard to just go around and find I don't know, as many as you need. How many rabbits do they have? 20? It just seems completely unnecessary to just go through this elaborate sequence of going up against this general dictator, this dictator who rules a warren with an iron fist and kind of steal the doughs out from right under his nose. I felt like the situation was kind of contrived. Obviously, I got kind of into it. I got more invested as Big Wig really steps up. I think he kind of cements himself as my favorite character in this arc. In this arc of the story, I really do appreciate just how the situation plays out and how it depicts a radically different rabbit culture than what we've seen up to this point. Because that is one of the interesting things about this book, is that you kind of get a look at different communities and how they're structured and things like that. And they can be wildly different. You have the cowslip one, which I think is probably my favorite parts of the entire book. And then you have Woundwort and his crazy dictator style, fascist dictatorship. Again, I found Woundwort's an interesting character because I think he, out of more than any other character in the book, actually has a very fleshed out backstory. The book very effectively gives him a surprisingly complex past, which kind of explains why he turned out the way he did. As someone who's been as someone who is who's been under a lot of stress his entire life and just kind of rose to the occasion and kind of surpassed it. He has essentially become addicted to becoming more powerful and becoming and expanding his sphere of influence, and that's led to this complex where he is trying to create the biggest, most powerful warren imaginable. He controls all of these rabbits with an iron fist. He has this incredible structure. He has this incredible power structure that honestly kind of revolves around him. The thing about this is, the thing that interests me about Woundwort as a character is why exactly the character seems more interested in pursuing power for his own interests rather than actually creating something that will last. And that's the interesting thing about this. When you really read in between the lines, is that Woundwort's his brand, his style of government kind of revolves around him personally overseeing everything. And this is an extremely competent person, rabbit, who's going around, ensuring that his people are going around patrolling the woods, taking in any rabbits they find, bringing them back, indoctrinating them, and kind of creating being taken in by the culture, right? He's personally overseeing all of this. Obviously he has people helping him. He has his officers. He has the council. They oversee specific things, but this guy is overlooking all of it. This guy is directly involved with interacting with every individual rabbit, every individual that comes into the warren. He has this hyper competent kind of sphere to him. He is just obsessed with with pursuing his goals of having like the ultimate Warren, or like as becoming more powerful, right? Expanding his sphere of influence. But the thing is, he's a rabbit. Like that's what it comes down to. Is that it's what's interesting about the character is that he's incredibly large and powerful for a rabbit, but and he hates men, right? He hates mankind. He hates humans. Humans are like the biggest scum of the earth. Like he's a rabbit. Like that's the thing. This guy has risen like past the boundaries of his race or his species or whatever, like of his nature, and become something that he really isn't. It's kind of interesting. It's really interesting to kind of see like to see this play out, and seeing how it all falls apart, because that's essentially what this part of the story is actually about, is how exactly Woundwort's power structure falls apart. And it really does comes apart very quickly, in that he cannot allow other rabbits to have any kind of individuality, right? They're not allowed to do anything other than follow their orders that come specifically from him. So when someone like Bigwig comes along, who has like goals and objectives of his own, Woundwort is completely at his wit's end at how to best to deal with the situation. Even though he's so cunning, he catches on to the fact that something is wrong fairly quickly. If like they had to wait another couple of weeks or days, like Woundwort probably would have figured out like everything that Bigwig was trying to accomplish. This guy, do a very good job. Well, the author did a very good job. I keep saying they when it's a single guy. With the author did a very good job setting up like Bigwig as Woundwort as this like very competent rabbit who is able to effectively make decisions on the fly and like come off as a really genuine cunning antagonist, as opposed to like someone like Cowslip, who really is just a passive like little bitch, right? Like Cowslip's a little shit, but I love Cowslip as a concept, but when it comes to like as an actual antagonist figure, he couldn't do shit other than like mislead the protagonist. So Woundwort is like a lot more competent in general. He has a lot more going for him as an antagonist. And the thing is, when it all falls apart, like without Woundwort, the Warren cannot exist. Like that's kind of what I've been getting to like this entire time, is that like although Woundwort has set up this like extremely elaborate system of like day and night feeding cycles of like scouts that patrol the area, a reporting system where they track the movements of other animals, anything unusual, men, birds, other rabbits. Like he has this elaborate established this incredibly elaborate militaristic kind of situation, kind of community, but it all revolves around him. And once the rabbit dies, once he's no longer able to maintain this thing he's built for himself, it's all going to fall apart, and you're going to I think the book ends that way. I don't remember exactly what happens to Ephrafa. I'm not there yet, but like I believe the entire Warren collapses, and you can kind of see this is where it's going. I mean, if it either shows it or it doesn't, but I think that's what would happen realistically, is that the Warren just cannot function without like a figure as competent as Woundwort is at like managing everything. Like without someone like that, this kind of society cannot exist. It's all going to fall apart. And I'm curious. I find it really, really well done. I think it's a really interesting. I think the author did a really good job making the character, a genuine threat, considering the situation. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of like the setup to this. I think you could easily find other female rabbits. It's not the hardest thing in the world to find a female, but I think the way the story plays out, the actual conflict as opposed to the setup to it. It's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I really found myself getting invested in it. Really great climax. Really great finale. Great character moments. I love this book.